"Here's your new home, little guy," Steve said as he turned off the Land Rover's ignition. "Not a mansion, but the view's worth a million." Anna set the puppy back into the basket. Then she opened the door and stepped out to stretch her legs. She squinted at the setting sun glowing through the woods across the river. When she looked back into the truck, she was surprised. The puppy had climbed out of the basket and was standing on the seat staring at her. His eyes, reflecting the sun's slanting rays, burned the color of amber. "Will you look at that? He's studying you." Steve put his arms around Anna as he watched the puppy. "I can't help to think I've seen that face before." "On an Egyptian tomb, maybe," Anna marveled, studying the little face. "His eyes are lined like a pharaoh's." Anna picked up the puppy off the seat and tried to hold him in her arms, but he squirmed and wanted to get down. She gently placed him on the ground. He turned his head into the breeze and drank in his first scent of the laguana. He then waddled unsteadily toward the river as Steve and Anna followed. "Scree! Scree! Scree!" An eagle swooped low between the trees, talons clutching a fish. The puppy calmly looked up, his eyes following the eagle's sweeping path. "Did you see that?" Steve said as he sat down on the sandy embankment. "The pup didn't flinch." "That's what worries me. There's so many birds of prey here. Eagles, kites, hawks. One evening I saw Martial Eagle zero in on a mongoose near the river. Just like that, the eagle snatched him up and was gone." The puppy cocked his head toward the hippo cluttered in the middle of the river. The rumblings were carried by the wind. "Oomph, oomph, oomph." Then his attention snapped to the skimmer bird gliding above the water surface, its lower beak trawling for fish. The puppy was fascinated with everything he watched. "I remember now," Steve said. "Months ago, downriver, I was trailing human tracks in the sand, ivory poachers, their prints superimposed in the tracks of an old bull elephant. The dimming light made it hard to see, and I had the feeling I was being watched. I looked to my left through the thorn bushes and was startled by something staring at me. Intelligent eyes peering from a wild face. It was a wild dog, his round ears alert and as radars. Behind him I could just make out the blur of his pack looping off. But he never moved. We just stared at each other. His eyes were dark amber. Steve turned his attention back to the puppy and then to Anna. "You know, in the local Navajo language, the word for wild dog is bulu." Steve unlatched the creaky door of the house. The dark interior smelled like damp hay from the rains. He struck a match and lit one of the gas lanterns, pumping it to life. Honey-colored light slowly revealed a circular room crammed with primitive furnishings. Beside the old stove, 4 handmade chairs surrounded a table holding tin plates, pots, and pans. A blue African print cloth covered the mattress of a double bed beside a window facing the river. Shelves on a lopsided bookcase sagged with volumes of natural history, exploration, and paleontology. Against another wall, a pantry was jam-packed with cans of milk, corned beef, beans, butter, oil, marmalade, and battered tin containers of flour, coffee, biscuits, tea, and sugar. A worn leather couch, sunken in the middle, sat beside the big ceramic water cooler. A leaky shower head peeked above the bathroom's wicker partition. A Winchester Magnum rifle rested on a wall rack, and 2 dented steel ammunition cases were stacked beneath it. Cameras and binoculars hung from pegs beside the door. Red print curtains added a splash of color to the brown straw walls. The high arched roof, like the inside of a wizard's hat, allowed heat to rise and keep the room cool. Anna stood outside and looked up at the wild mango tree beside the house. Yellow fruit by the hundreds hung against the darkening sky. Plop, Plop! Some fruits dropped onto the roof. The puppy looked up, transfixed as they rolled down onto the ground. Anna held his little face next to her cheek. The elephants will be here soon, Bulu. She went down and picked up a mango. This is their favorite snack. Anna stepped inside. Steve was opening a tin can at the kitchen table. Fast food tonight, he said. Beans on buttered bread. Anna set Bulu down on the cool cement floor. He immediately toddled over to investigate one of Steve's sandals. She stepped out to retrieve the dog bed from the Land Rover. When she returned, she found Bulu fast asleep half inside the sandal. Chief Kakubia will be here in 2 days, Steve said, plastering butter on his bread. I'm a bit anxious. Let's hope he rents us the land. Our future here depends on his decision. We'd better serve him something besides beans, then, Anna said, sitting down at the table. Yes, beans have no dignity, Steve grinned. Let's have brie. I'll need a new propane can for the grill. I'll head off straight away in the morning to get one. See if I can buy some fresh bream. Tastiest fish in the world. Then to the market for fresh fruit and vegetables. Everything must be festive. Anna turned her attention to the shelves that held neatly folded stacks of clothes and sheets. I can use the purple tie-dyed tablecloth. Wonder if we have enough. Sweets? Steve interrupted as he dropped a glob of beans on the bread. Yes, we must have sweets. She looked over at Bulu, crashed out on the sandal. Let me think what I can make. Anna got up from the table. Bulu didn't stir as she placed him and the shoe in the dog bed. I think you may also need a new pair of sandals. Vanilla sweet mopane smoke filled the morning air and stirred Anna from her sleep. Up and at 'em, Steve said, bringing her tea. His hair was still damp from the shower. I fired up the old barrel. Should be enough hot water left for you. He grabbed his jacket and keys. Back by late afternoon. He hurried out the door, forgetting to latch it behind him. Anna pulled back the mosquito net and got up. Bulu was still slumbering with his sandal. She knelt down by the dog bed and kissed him on his little nose. He opened his eyes. Time for your breakfast. At the kitchen table, Anna whipped together a mixture of egg, egg yolks and milk. Just as she set the bowl on the floor, Bulu got to his feet. He eagerly lapped up his food. She laughed at his instantly lay back down on his sandal and closed his eyes. And then headed for the shower. She adjusted the hot water with cool water from the outside barrels and grabbed the shampoo and soap. The patter of water hitting the floor muffled the scream of an eagle somewhere close. Moments later she turned off the spigot, toweled down, slipped into her khaki shirt and shorts, and stepped back into the room. Bulu was nowhere to be seen. She looked under the bed. Not there. Bulu, where are you? Her eyes quickly scanned the room. Then she saw the door ajar. She thought of the screaming eagle and raced outside. Bulu! Bulu! She called, looking right and left. Nothing. She tried to keep from panicking as she searched the sandy, damp earth. Where were his prints? When she found them barely visible among the crisscross of baboon, antelope, and gnek cat tracks, they led from the house toward the river, where he would be exposed to the open sky. Anna paced quickly, trying not to lose sight of the tracks. She emerged from the thicket into the open embankment, and there was Bulu, perfectly still, sitting on the bank. His head was cocked sideways as he watched a troop of baboons 40 yards off at the water's edge. The troop was knuckle-walking along the riverbed, babies hitchhiking on their mothers' backs. Big, muscular males brought up the rear with macho attitude. When the males spotted Anna, they started barking. Like a band of thieves caught in a raid, the baboons screamed and scrambled down the beach. Anna scooped up the tiny puppy and held him tight. Bulu! She choked. Oh, Bulu, you must never again wander alone in the bush."